Hi, Kevin Coop here, and this is FaceTime with the Content Guy coming to you this week from Burlington, Vermont. Now, you may be saying to yourself, Burlington, Vermont? I thought he was in the Pacific Northwest teaching at Portland State University. Well, I came to Burlington for My Web Grocer's Customer Days event. And right now they're on break. That's why there's nobody here, but I wanted to tell you a little bit about it. And yes, full disclosure, My Web Grocer is a longtime and highly valued Morning Newsbeat sponsor. But this has been a really interesting event. I've learned a ton. The speakers have been fascinating, and it's possible that nobody was more fascinating than the woman who co-wrote this book, Saj Nicole Joni. And the book is called Get Big Things Done, The Power of Connectional Intelligence. And she was just interesting. I mean, first of all, this is the kind of person who, when you hang out with her, you realize how little you've accomplished in your life. She was a classical ballet dancer. She has a black belt in Aikido. She's a foodie. She's a pianist. And when she started on the math faculty at MIT at the age of 24, not only was she the first woman to be on the math faculty at MIT, but the building she was in didn't even have a woman's bathroom. That's how far we've come. And by the way, that's not that long ago. But she was really, really interesting. And I wanted to kind of share some of the things she talked about, because to me, they just, rang true in terms of the things that this industry is facing as technology in the digital age reshapes everything. She talked about the fact that one of the things that companies have to do and leaders have to do is to figure out a way to embrace the dissonant forces that often are the ones who cause great changes to take place. It was interesting. She told this great anecdote about a law firm called Skadden. And one of the things that they had with their first years lawyers who came into the firm is they had figured out how to create a digital social network that allowed them to be incredibly more productive and do much higher quality work. But because they were more productive, one of the things that happened was billings went down because they were actually spending less time on some of the clients to get the same work done. And listen, she said this creates challenges to leaders and to organizations because first impulse is, wait a minute, you got to get the billings up. But on the other hand, if the work is better and the productivity is higher, you've got to figure that out. I mean, there's a real parallel there in say, the supermarket industry, where, sure, e-commerce is going to eat away at store sales, potentially. But on the other hand, it's all part of the greater company, and companies have to recognize the fact that, listen, maybe some of the sales are going to move. Maybe we're going to have to figure out how to refigure compensation packages. But listen, the greater good is that the company's getting the sales as opposed to the competition. That's what's going to happen. One of the things she talked about is the fact that, we live in a world where there's more conflict, there's more tension, there's more dissonance. It's a noisier and more chaotic world. But we actually have to embrace that because it's out of those things that change and innovation takes place. Leaders know how to embrace that. Leaders know how to harness that and use it for the best advantage of their organizations. Listen, in the end, she said it's not about technology, but it's about human beings and what we're capable of. And the thing is, you can't pull these things back. You can't put the horse back in the barn. She told this wonderful story about how Benjamin Franklin was in fact the nation's first postmaster general. I didn't realize that. And one of the things that Ben Franklin did is he figured out how to get messages from Philadelphia to New York and get return messages back to Philadelphia in 24 hours. That was incredibly revolutionary at the time. That was incredibly disruptive at the time. And yet, at that time, some people said, is this too much? Is this right? Is this a direction we want to go? This is the kinds of resistance that Ben Franklin was facing 250-something years ago, and it's obviously the same kind of resistance that some companies will face now. But like I said, you can't put the horse back in the barn. You just got to figure out a way to get it pointed in the right direction. This is really fascinating. I totally believe that people should read this book. And there's even a couple of movie references in there, which I particularly love. She quotes Katharine Hepburn at one point as saying, if you only play by the rules, you're never going to have any fun. I think those are words to live by. Anyway, that's what's on my mind this Thursday morning, coming to you, as I said, from the My Web Grocer Customer Days in Burlington, Vermont. And as always, I want to hear what's on your mind.